So I'm calling it right now, guys. Mike Bloomberg's 2020 presidential campaign is going to be a disaster. Mike Bloomberg has said he's running to defeat Donald Trump, and he officially announced this afternoon. Now, we sort of knew Bloomberg was going to run as of the last couple weeks, given a lot of behind the scenes, logistics work that was done by Bloomberg and his team. But this is the formal announcement today, and he's painting himself as the pragmatic problem-solving candidate who's going to defeat a right-wing ideologue in Donald Trump and is going to bring pragmatic values to the White House that help regular Americans. That's his narrative. And Michael Bloomberg has a bit more credibility than a lot of the other billionaire wannabe presidents. He has been the mayor of America's largest city. That ain't nothing. But I still think this campaign's gonna fail because at the end of the day, he's not proposing anything novel. If you want rich person that doesn't really know much about what America needs going forward, you already have that. And if you want somebody who leans nominally progressive, but is actually running on something of a neoliberal platform, you'll have plenty of that currently in the Democratic race. And of course, there are left-wing options that are much bolder than Michael Bloomberg and what he chooses to offer. Here's the thing. Bloomberg says he's running to stop Trump. And I don't doubt that Bloomberg wants to see Trump defeated. I don't think he's lying. But really, Bloomberg is running because he worries that Bernie Sanders, and to a lesser degree, Elizabeth Warren, might become the Democratic nominee. And he wants to prevent that from happening. And the way that he sees that happening at this stage is for himself to run as president. For him to not back a particular person like Biden or Buttigieg, but run himself, to actually enter the race as this sort of neoliberal Democrat, rather centrist figure, to unite reasonable Democrats and Republicans around a candidate to defeat Donald Trump. He feels he's the man for that job. But I just don't see it happening. I don't see the Democratic base wanting to support a former Republican billionaire political figure who, yes, is more moderate than most Republicans, and who, yes, does say the right things on the right issues sometimes, but is nonetheless not the sort of direction that the Democratic Party and the American people are moving in. And I have to say that this is all really interesting because I feel Bloomberg's move might have the opposite effect of his intentions. Certainly, if Bloomberg is able to build mass momentum and, jump into the front runner status fairly instantly, then, maybe he can win this thing. I don't think so, but I think more likely is that he's going to peel support away from people like Biden and people like Buttigieg, because they are the sort of nominally progressive sounding, largely neoliberal candidates. And that Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren are sort of moving to lock up the progressive wings of the Democratic Party. And I don't know if those people are all that accessible to Michael Bloomberg. And you also have to remember, as I reported a couple days ago, 70% of Bernie Sanders supporters and 60% of Biden supporters have already said they've made up their minds. They're locked in. So where is Bloomberg going to grow? He could grow from that Biden 40%. He could grow from the large amount of Buttigieg supporters that are undecided, and then maybe try to find a way to win this thing. But I think the more likely option is a Bloomberg candidacy that actually does well is going to hurt other centrist candidates in this race. So for me, I'm torn. I think it's silly that Bloomberg is entering the race at this stage. I don't think he brings anything novel. I don't think that his experience brings anything that, the race is missing. I don't think any of his policy pieces are going to be things that the race is missing. For instance, in his campaign ad today, he said that I'm going to fight for everyone to get the health insurance they need, but allow everyone else to keep the insurance they have, which is basically the Pete Buttigieg position, Medicare for all who want it. I disagree with that. I support Bernie Sanders' Medicare for all. But if you want a candidate who's got the Medicare for all who want it idea, you don't need Michael Bloomberg. I don't see what he's adding. But when he does join, and he's joined officially, he's going to take support He's going to take fundraising. He's going to take media attention. He's going to take energy from other center-right, centrist, neoliberal, Democratic nominee candidates. And that's a good thing for the left. The more divisions you see between Buttigieg, Biden, and now Bloomberg, you're going to see that division on the left between Warren and Sanders become less significant. Because as it stands right now, if you look at most polling, Biden's winning. And Bernie and Warren are doing fairly well, but together their votes would more than beat Joe Biden. So you wonder if there's somebody who comes along, whether it's an ascendant Buttigieg or a new campaigner like Deval Patrick or Michael Bloomberg, will they cause a bit of a disadvantage for Biden as he bleeds some establishment support to, a figure like Mike Bloomberg, who in many ways is maybe more appealing than Biden. He's got even more establishment credibility in some ways. He's certainly more eloquent. I think he's a bit sharper, at least right now. There's reasons why if you're a neoliberal, you'd leave Biden to go to Bloomberg, or you might even leave Buttigieg to go to Bloomberg. But I just don't see this working. I see Michael Bloomberg fundamentally failing to connect with people. I see him being unable to make up for the lost momentum he could have gained entering this race 6 months ago, 8 months ago, not being in any of the initial debates. And I see him not giving voters a reason on a massive level to go to him. I see voters going to him in isolated cases. I see him shifting support. I see him maybe getting 4 or 5%. But I don't see him cracking that 10, 15, certainly 20% mark that's going to be required to have a shot at winning this. And I don't see him appealing in some of the early states like Iowa or South Carolina. I just don't see it. So on all of these factors, I think this is going to be like a lot of other billionaire campaigns, which is largely a vanity project where they're just burning their own money. But the reality is that it's not an effective way to do this. And this is where Michael Bloomberg, in his vanity to be president and his insistence that only he can stop Donald Trump and stop Bernie Sanders at the same time, that he's actually creating a potential situation where he's hurting his own side. Michael Bloomberg, if he wanted to stop Donald Trump and stop Bernie Sanders, could mobilize his media presence and his billions of dollars in favor of another presidential candidate who already has support, and back Senate and House candidates all over the country that are running on a more centrist neoliberal platform than running on, a Justice Democrats, Democratic Socialist of America platform. That would be much more effective and much more efficient than launching an 11th hour presidential campaign in a race that's already well ahead of you and you're just jumping in now. This is going to crash and burn. Bloomberg is not going to have a major impact on the race in terms of shifting the frontrunner statuses. But if he does have an effect, it will be to hurt fellow neoliberals like Buttigieg and Biden. And it could very well play a role in helping Bernie Sanders become the next president of the United States. Wouldn't that be sweet?